loud. It's really loud. So I'm Sibella Giorello. I have a phonetically arranged marriage. So it's not a pen name, that is me. And I'm going to tell you just, it was supposed to be our journey. My agent was supposed to be here too, but she's no longer an agent. She's now a producer. So she's not here, it's just me. But I'll tell you a bit, and I got notes from her to give you guys some info too. So I'll just tell you what worked for me, and to let you know there's all kinds of ways to break into screen from book. It's not that there's one way that's better than any other. So for me, I'd had 3 different producers get options on my fiction series. And each time it would start out, and it would always fizzle out. You know, it's hard to sell anything, but in Hollywood it's even harder. So on the 3rd time I said, you know, screw it, I'm gonna write a script. I know the characters, I know the story, I know where it's gonna go. So I'd actually thrown my back out, and I just started watching YouTube videos on how to write a screenplay, because everything's on YouTube. And that was just the beginning, and I just started practicing with it. It's kind of like writing your first novel. You're pretty bad at it first, but the more you do it and the more you study, the better you get. So I wrote a screenplay, and I sent it to one of those 3 producers, and he was actually a showrunner for a hot show. He very kindly went page by page with me over, this is how novels are different from here, and he would take it down. It was a great tutorial. When I finished with that, I sent it to another producer, because this guy was not doing any shows anymore, who had been one of the producers before. He loved it. He took it to Amazon Studios, and they optioned 4 of my YA books as movies. He and I made a pitch to write the movies. So there were 3 pitches available. We got one of the spots. They didn't pick us, and they picked a screenwriter. I got a draft of her screenplay, and it was horrifying because I didn't recognize the characters. I didn't recognize my book, anything. It was everything I hoped wouldn't happen, happened. Fortunately, I think it had changed so much that the story didn't work anymore. So Amazon did not renew their option, and I got the rights back. Thank you, God. And so from there, what I did is I'd always wanted it to be more of a TV show than a movie. It's just how I saw the story working better. So I sat down again. Oop, I'm out. I sat down again to start writing it all over again, this time as a TV pilot. The difference now was I had 3 years under my belt. Ooh. I can use a mic. Do you want me to just use a mic? I think it's going to save us some hassles, right? So at that point, I had, been studying a lot of scripts. I had been, thank you. I had been reading a lot more, learning. I was going to conferences for screenwriters. I joined a group. I have a PDF attached to this talk in that eventee, and I've got some of the resources listed there that help me transition from novels to screenwriting. As novelists, we're ahead of the curve in one way. We know how to write a character, we know how to do dialogue, we know a story arc, and so forth, but it is so much more compressed in a screenplay, and you cannot have really any exposition. It is all something a character says or something the audience sees, whereas we get to go on these soliloquies of interior thoughts and stuff. You can't do it in a screenplay. So that was the hardest part for me for transitioning. But got the rights back and wrote a 2-part, the first 2 episodes of a TV series, and it's out being shot now and getting very, very strong response. All that to say, if you're wondering if you can do this, the answer is yes. Because I'm not a plot person, which is pretty much what your screenplay is going to be, all plot. But I would encourage you to start reading some screenplays, start looking at how it's structured, and best thing of all, you get to watch a lot of TV. And so it's definitely possible. There's two tracks you can go for. You can get a dramatic rights. You can get a dramatic rights agent who different than a literary agent, really. Just sells the dramatic rights to your book to a studio or a producer or something, and they have the contacts. That was what my agent was. She just handled TV and movie rights, and she knew who to go to and do all that. So that's one option. The other thing is for you to adapt your own novels into screenplays. Like I said, you know the story, you know the characters, you have the backstory, you've got a depth there that translates really well in a screenplay because you're not guessing about who those people are. You know who they are. You know what role they should play. You're going to cut a ton of your book. I don't even, from my screenplay, I barely recognize my novel, but not that the characters are altered or I changed them. It's just I added a couple new characters and I really compressed other parts of the story. So it's not like the novel, which you'll see all the time. And the other, I have not found any of the books about adapting your novel to a screenplay very helpful. And they could be me. There might be a good one out there. I haven't found it. And basically, the thing they recommend is read the book so many times that you could recite it in your dreams and then completely forget about it and write it as a visual story, just visuals. There's the stuff that affects us the most with screen stuff is often the wordless scenes, right? Or just a look on someone's face. A lot of it goes to the actor. But we're used to, with our books, our words carrying everything and making the impact. That won't be what happens with this. So learn to look for, when you're watching TV, look for those quiet scenes and maybe even how you would describe it in your own screenplay. Just start bouncing back and forth from what you're watching on screen to how you would write that. Or, you know, a lot of times the scene will end, someone will ask a question. Now in the book, we would probably have it answered. They don't. They move to the next scene. So there are these tropes that you'll learn and pick up as you read along. Classes I found the most helpful. There's some from Screenwriter University, has a lot of classes on there. Some free, some very inexpensive to go to. You can look stuff up. There's a lot of charlatans out there, just like there are in publishing. So be wary. I worked with this one woman. She was extremely expensive, and it was not helpful in the least. In fact, I felt like she just set me backwards. So you have to be careful about that. One of the classes I found most helpful is called the Nutshell Technique, and it's JillChamberlain.com. Chamberlain, L-A-I-N. It's in the PDF that I have. She does both TV and movie classes, and one aside here, anything you do to learn how to write the screenplay is only going to improve your novel writing, because you will really learn show, not tell in a big way. So don't feel like if you go off on this tangent, you have to put your books aside. I think they can run parallel. You just maybe have to budget your time a little and what you're studying. But so the Jill Chamberlain class that I found, I had read her book. It's called The Nutshell Technique. And I actually recommend it even to novelists. It's a fantastic book on why some movies seem perfect to us, like Tootsie or some. She really has broken down this formula without being formulaic about what beat needs to happen and why. But she does it from a deep character place, so it works really well. Her classes were online because of COVID, fortunately, because usually they're in person in Texas. And it's to do the whole class is expensive. It's like $700 something, but it is like, I think it's like 12, 15 weeks long, and it's intense. I mean, she's doing a lot of work with you. You're doing a lot of work with your classmates. It's not a theft. Fraud. But you can also audit the class, which is what I would recommend if this is just you're starting out on this. Should I? Shouldn't I? I don't know. Maybe my book would. I would audit her class, so you don't get to participate during class time, but you watch. You're there, and you don't get to turn in any of your work for critique and stuff. But it's super, super helpful to just listen to what other screenwriters are working on. You will, I believe, you get to read. So you submit work pretty much every week, and in her class, you do get to read that work, and then you hear the critique. So the audit is a great option. I think it's like $140, which I think is a great investment for how much you'll learn. And then for me, the group that we had as Nutshell, fantastic group of aspiring screenwriters, all different levels of experience. We continued after that and have still meeting now over a year later. Every weekend we submit a screenplay, like a writer's group, submit the screenplay, go over it, So, if you're starting out, try to build some kind of writer's group. It really will help. And then my last thing, and then I want to open up to questions, because I'm just, telling you how it worked for me. I want to hear where you guys are. But I want to read off what my agent, who's no longer an agent, said. And do get that PDF. It has both online resources, books, and conferences and things to go to. So my agent's suggestion was pitch festivals. So they have these things just like here. They're all online now, and authors show up. So you would show up and be pitching your series or your book or something to producers, agents, managers. So you might not get a deal there, but you might find somebody who's interested in representing you going forward. When you go to pick who to pitch to, if you go to this website and there's like 25 people there representing Sony or 20th Century Fox or whatever, go to the website M as in Mary, D as in Daniel, B as in boy, imdb.com, and you can put in that person's name and it will kick up all the projects that they've been involved with, and you can see if they're a good match for you, because you don't want to be pitching to Don Simpson action adventure guy if you've got a sweet romance for Hallmark. So once you find a pitch festival and just put in pitch festival, Google it. There's tons of them. Put what did she have down here? Google pitch festivals. They happen year round. Most of them are now on Zoom. One of the better ones is Pitch Fest, all one word, Pitch Fest. There's another called Fade In Online. And a third one is Hollywood Pitch Festival. So there's 3 to start you out. And then if you're fortunate enough to live somewhere like Austin, they have the film festival. They often have pitch sessions there too. So for the pitch, the most important thing is going to be your log line. So this is Barbie meets Armageddon. It's a short line, and everybody will listen to you give a log line. They don't want to hear the whole summary of your story and the amazing emotional journey you've been on. That comes later if they're interested. Your log line is crucial. Snakes on a Plane meets Legally Blonde, right? A lot of times it's super helpful to reference something that your work is similar to, and then where it's different, right? You can also write it out long term, like for my YA, I didn't have any, catchy thing to put in. So I really said this is a story about a girl who's dealing with a highly dysfunctional family, and her best friend goes missing, and she discovers her destiny as a teen detective. Something like that, right? YA is super big right now. They want a lot of it. So if you write YA, go to the front of the line, because they are really, really looking to adapt YA novels. Series are also a huge selling point, obviously, because there's more money, and you have a lot of episodes already sort of sketched out for you. You can say, so for mine, I think that was part of why it got picked up. I had 4 YAs, I had 8 in the adult series. So I had many, many episodes to stay with this character if it took off. And that this is all about money. You might have just this amazing story, but it really is about selling it. And they put a lot of money into this. I mean, publishers do too. And so you're selling your book. It's about money too, but it's much, much more here. You're talking about millions of dollars and many, many lives. We've all sat through those credits and go, holy crap, all those people for like one movie, one TV show? A lot of people, a lot of staffing, a lot of settings, things like that. But as you educate yourself more, as you read more of these books on the how-tos that I have listed there, and there are many more. My list is just what worked for me. You might find books on Amazon, go and write about, screenwriters or whatever. There are a wealth of books out there. And, do the look inside, see if it works for you. The other thing that helps more than anything, and as writers we know this, reading the work. It's very hard to find scripts in paperback form in a store. I think the Frasier scripts are compiled, maybe Seinfeld, things like that, but very, very hard to find, an entire TV series. But in that PDF, I listed a couple places online that you can get download free PDFs of pilot series, find what maybe is similar to yours or what you want to write, the genre you want to be in. Download that, study it, read it, watch the show, check the thing, go back and forth. It's an amazing way to get up to speed really quickly. And as I said, I think as novelists, we're ahead of the curve in a lot of ways, and we're behind it a little in others. But we're behind because we want to describe everything. We love that. And I love that in a book too, right? These people don't read. The producers who pick up the thing, that's a lot for them to read 30 or 40 pages. And people, the margins are in like this. I mean, the margins, you're talking about coming down, it's maybe 10,000 words is considered a lot for them. And here we are writing 70 to 100,000 words. So very different things, short attention spans. They got a lot to do. They've got 1,000 people lined up behind you to read it. That's why that log line is important, and your concept, high concept can be really good if you just find the right producer, studio, whatever. Let's see. Agent said, everyone in Hollywood wants content. It's a great time to be an author, especially of a series. They need content. We've all seen how many freaking channels there are, how many streaming networks. There's almost too much, but people are hungry for more. And I think we've all gotten to the point where we go, there's just like nothing on these streaming things, because we've seen it all, right? They want something fresh and new. So, don't feel that you can't cross that barrier. They need your stuff, right? So know that. Let's see. She had something, my agent was talking about a one page. So get your log line, right? And it can take some time, almost like writing the back cover blurb. You really have to sit and think about it and digest and edit and everything. Same with your log line. Tighter the better. Any manager agent will read a log line, as I said. If it's good, they'll keep reading. They care about that log line more than your bio. Okay, we're nobody to them. Pick a genre at the pitch fest, and then pick your agent. So if you write mystery, you write YA, you do nonfiction, you do military, whatever it is. Find your tribe there. And lastly, attend conferences, network, right? Just like we're doing here at 20Books. You learn to find out a lot. Unfortunately, there used to be a conference called Connecting Writers with Hollywood that actually this agent ran. She's closed it down now that she's producing. But I'm hoping somebody will start up something like that again, because it really was for novelists to find people, agents or studios that are looking for that content. But there's a lot out there. If you've seen Virgin River on Netflix, that's a big book adaptation. They need it. Hallmark, tons of Christmas romance. Big thing for Hallmark. So lots of options out there, lots of, all these streaming networks, they need your stuff. So I'm just here to encourage you to do it. It's hard. It's not as hard as writing a novel. I can say, like, people always say, what's more painful, giving birth or a kidney stone? And I only know one person who's done both. And it's good when you've done both, you can compare, but I'm telling you, it's not as hard as a novel. It's challenging, but it's not. The novels are so much harder. So pat yourselves on the back. You've done the hard stuff. Now for some fun. Questions? Yeah. Oh. Here you go. Yeah.
What software program are you using for writing screenplays?
Great question. I had that in the notes. I use Final Draft. Scrivener does have that screenwriting option. Someone shaking her head. Yes, exactly. It's kind of glitchy, and it's not the industry standard. So when you use Final Draft, it's excellent at formatting everything where your dialogue needs to be. And they are extremely strict. If your script has even like typos, the formatting's off, it's gone. You better be Tarantino if you've got mistakes, because they're not going to read it. They just reeks of an amateur, and they don't want to work with someone who's messy or careless or whatever. But in Final Draft, you can write in it, and then you can hit save as a PDF, and that way you can share it without anybody tampering with it. The other thing I'd suggest is after you write a script and you feel like that's the draft you want to send out, go to the Writers Guild of America and register it. It's like $25, but once it's registered, highly unlikely someone can steal it, or, sadly, if you have to prove it was your idea and somebody stole it, here's your registration for October 2021. They came up with this idea after reading yours in April of 22. It helps you. Protect yourself. So there's shark-infested waters. So any other questions? Yeah. How did I find my agent? Great question. I went to that festival, Connecting Writers with Hollywood, and I pitched to a bunch of movie people, and they were interested, but I didn't really get any kind of deal out of that. What was interesting, though, those producers went back to her and said, yeah, I heard this good pitch, and so then she called me up and said, look, I like that idea too, and I'd like to take it out. And I said, okay, that's great. So we signed a contract, and then she had a lot of clients, and now she's moved just into producing. So she's not taking any new clients now. I would say that you could probably find an agent online, and again, there's tons of them out there, just like book agents, and you have to be buyer beware. Go to IMDb, and you can look up so many of these people and see what they've been involved in, talk to them. Really, you're interviewing them. They need your content more than you need them, right? And you have to keep that in mind as you do this, because there'll be a lot of people who make a lot of promises. The other thing I would say is, if you do get down to signing a deal with someone, unlike traditional publishing for books, with this you're going to need an attorney, and you really need that contract vetted and protect your rights. For instance, when I signed the contract with Amazon, they wanted all my books because it's the same character, and I just clamped it down to just the YA because I want to keep as many rights as possible. But it was the lawyer that helped me craft that contract that way. So, and there are more and more lawyers outside of Hollywood doing that kind of work because it's, spread across America now and not just in La La Land. So, yeah.
Hi. Sorry, I've got two questions, actually. You talked about a dramatic rights agent. What kind of a document do you think you would need for that? Because obviously, if you're pitching them, just a log line isn't going to work. Did you do like a one-page one, or was it a proper full pitch document? Second question, how much do you think being a best-selling author adds to your ability to sell to an agent?
Yeah, numbers are really important. You know, again, it's all money. So if you can show that you have this huge fan base and very loyal readers, they're all ears. They want to know that. And as for the dramatic rights, hang on. My agent said something. Hold on a second. If you're going to write scripts, you want an agent who just handles screenwriters. That's it, right? Not a novelist. And that agent is the only way you're going to get a foot in the door, because producers and studios don't take anything unsolicited. It has, unlike indie, I think we're going to end up there, that we're going to be doing movies on our phones and stuff, and we won't need agents as much. I think we're going to transition to indie filmmaking, like we're in indie publishing, but it's years away, and it could be at so much money it never happens. I don't know. But for the dramatic rights agent, you can usually, most literary agents, this is her words, most literary agents can also handle dramatic rights. So if just someone who's a publishing agent, this is a specialization that they do. You can hang on to your indie rights for publishing. I did that with my contracts. The publishing stays with me. They just get dramatic rights to adapt it for the screen, two different things. You can research dramatic rights agents online, send a query letter, and ask if they're interested in selling dramatic rights to your indie pub books. So again, it's a sales pitch. So it's a short paragraph about why this is great, your sales numbers, fan base, how many reviews you have. You could maybe put a page of reviews behind your letter. So your letter should be one, but maybe just have your reviews, your rating on Amazon, read through, whatever because the literary agent is going to know what read through means. So if you have like 80, 90% read through, that's great. That helps. Note, sales numbers for your books are important for getting an agent studio interested. Be upfront with the literary agent. Quote, I'm looking to get my book turned into film or TV. Do you represent indie authors for that? And then start touting your book sales or how long you've been writing or something else. But, be upfront, ask questions straight out. Do you do dramatic rights? I'd really like to turn this into a TV movie series, which is, different from writing the script, but that's a nice place to start. You already have the IP, intellectual property to sell, so why not get a little more cake from that? And then you could be learning to write scripts on the side. So lots of options to do it. Anyone else? Oh no, we have no questions. I'm going to start asking questions. Who in here? Oh, good. Animation, it's interesting. There was just Joanna Penn just had somebody on our podcast who's an animation person. So I would direct you to that because she had a ton of knowledge and has done a lot with it. And I just don't know enough about animation. I know it's hot. They're always looking for stories. So encourage that. Yeah. Oh, what a good question. Is there somewhere you can learn to pitch? And I would say, I think there is. I think there's Screenwriters U. I think it even has a class in the pitch. Someone's nodding. So maybe, I think I remember watching something about that before I went to the festival to learn how to do that. Because most of us are not great at sales, right? That's why we're here. Please show me how to sell things that I create. So definitely, this is a really good question. I would search for that online, how to pitch. It's amazing what resources are out there online. Like I said, I learned to start this through YouTube. Who knew, right? So, and it's free, so even better. Anything else? Okay, who in here has written a script? Ooh, good. And do you write them different from your novels or adapting them? Different. Everybody different? Interesting. Go back and forth? Yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
This may have already been asked. I'm sorry I came in late.
It's okay.
But
Get out of the room. Yeah.
if you have a best-selling series that's already been out for a few years, is that
Oh, yeah.
off the table?
No. Oh, thank you. If you have a best-selling series and it's been out for a few years, is that off the table? Absolutely not. Those YAs of mine came out in like 2012, 2013, and I really had done nothing with them until like last year. So, and it's nice because you've accumulated more reviews, you've maybe continued the series. It's actually even better than a brand new thing. So, very good. Yeah. No.
You knew I was going to ask a follow-up, didn't you?
No, I didn't. But go ahead.
You're talking about a series. When you're pitching,
Yeah.
do you pitch the first one? You just say, I've got 15 books in this series.
Good question. When you're pitching,
What are the odds of getting a series as opposed to a standalone?
okay, so what are the first thing when you're pitching, do you pitch just the first book in the series or do you pitch the whole series? And what are your odds with a series? Do I have that right? Good. I would say you're much, much better off with a series, much. So a standalone could maybe be a movie, but this is about money. So with a series, they can see all kinds of franchise options going out. I think one of the reasons mine was picked up is I had a YA and an adult series, both. So theoretically, there could be two different TV series off that. So that's how they're looking at this. So what are the legs for this going forward? So series are in high demand. Virgin River is a perfect example. Yeah. That's it? Well, then sit down, lady. Okay.
I just wanted to know what made you decide to try to make your books into a movie. And then the other is, do you get more money? Because I'm assuming it's kind of like another job of doing the screenplays for the shows. Do you end up getting more money as the screenwriter for it, or if you're doing just the dramatic rights?
Great questions. So I'll answer the first one. It was just, I had thrown my back out so badly that, and all of us writers, right? We have these weird, our shoulders hurt, our wrists, we've got carpal tunnel. For me, it was my lower back. I knew I could not sit to write a novel. And so I was thinking, well, maybe I'll go into short stories because I could, just sit for a couple hours instead of like 9 hours typing away every day for however many weeks and months. So that was one thing that I drifted over to. And then it was also all those producers coming to me. And then I could see that they didn't know my child as well as I did. So I was like, the best person to advocate for this series is me. I'm looking to write something shorter. And true confession, I had not watched TV until about 2013. It's not a joke. My kids laugh about this all the time because when I wrote this series, everyone kept saying to me, oh, it's kind of like Veronica Mars. And the only thing I knew that they were talking about was Eyes of Laura Mars, the old Faye Dunaway movie. And I'm like, wow, you're like the fourth person. I just don't see it. It's like so different. And the kids finally came, Mom, it's a TV show. I'm like, oh, okay. So I started watching TV. That was part of the attraction too, is I felt I'd done these 12 novels and I was helping my husband with his nonfiction YA series. And I just felt like I needed a new challenge. So the screenwriting seemed like really fun to me to learn it. And there was no harm, no fail, because it was only going to help me with novels if I went back to it, or short stories. And then the second question, so Writers Guild of America decides everything pretty much on rates for working writers like ourselves. So usually a script, I think you get 30 to 40 grand for a script, which sounds great, but it probably took you 2 or 3 years to do it. So again, like publishing, it's like break it down hourly and we're screwed. But you're great. The best thing is if you get a series picked up, right, you can negotiate that contract that you're getting residuals, you're getting maybe an executive producer credit, which gives you a certain amount of money through Writers Guild too. So, you know, the money is great and I'm all for it, but I didn't do it for the money because I knew every time I've tried to do something for the money, I just sit there and shoot myself in the foot the whole time, right? It just doesn't work for me. That's for me. Some people can write to market. I was never one of them. So, but everybody's different. If you can write to market, whew, go for it. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. I'm sorry, we're not taking that question today. Okay, go ahead.
I was just wondering, you said that that you had to have a certain number of reviews. Well, let me just ask the question. How many reviews did you have of your books, and how many had you sold when you felt like it was, you could tout that as a selling point?
Good question. I had 100 and something per book reviews, and good reviews, and about a 90% read through, which was all great. My sales numbers were not that great because I did almost no marketing for my series. I had been traditionally published at the start of it, got the rights back to the first book, which gave me rights to the character, and then I continued on. But most of my energy goes to my husband's series, so I was just writing those more for like emotional support dog kind of thing. All that to say, I don't think the numbers matter, but for me, I just hid that. I just never talked about the numbers. I just, posted good reviews and how many books there were, and again, that log line. So what I finally came up with for a log line was, since I figured out it wasn't Faye Dunaway, I put Veronica Mars in the capital of the Confederacy, because it takes place in Richmond. And right then you go, oh, Veronica Mars. Those producers kind of know that and think about it. So the log line is going to be your most important thing, your concept, what makes it, it's the saying, they want something familiar but different, right? So if you have something like that, maybe you have Virgin River set in the bayou, right? That kind of thing is what gets them. And once they hear that log line, the agent and everybody else, that's when interest comes. And then you can backfill the other stuff. And I really wouldn't worry about the numbers. I mean, it's nice if you can say that. I never could, and I just pretended it didn't matter. So, and just made up for it in other ways. So, anyone else? We have 1 minute and 26 seconds. Somebody stand up and say something. Nobody.
You were about to say something about, you were about to ask us a question?
Yeah. It was about where you are in writing scripts. I think it's great if you've done it. If you've started that journey, stay on it. Go for it. Honestly, I love books and I love reading them, but we're a dying breed. Everything's going to screen. So I think it's a good thing marketing-wise for us as authors to be also thinking, I'm going to start this series. How likely is it that I could also sell it to the screen? Why not? Why, the phrase leave something on the table. Why not be writing something that could do that you also love to write? But I think we should all be thinking about that because they need the content badly, and we're producing it. So we should feel really powerful. Yeah. Is that it? Oh, I have 23 seconds. Come on, somebody say something. Or we're just going to count down. Yes? Great. No, if you start reading, she was saying she's not good with setting. Sorry, it's flashing at me, but I'm going to keep going. She's not great with the setting in the screenplay, is that right? Yeah. Describing the setting and so forth. It is so minimal, the amount that they put towards setting. There was a screenplay I read the other day. There was no setting whatsoever. And because that's the director's job, the producer, the studio stuff, they, do all that. I've also learned that most of the times if you write the screenplay, the director will completely rewrite it before it's, because they want to get to know it and make it their vision. So you have to be very open-handed here. They might say, we love this character, we hate this one, yada yada. So, but yeah. Okay, there's a very good book called The Screenwriter's Bible by Dave Trottier. It's excellent, and it's a great point, because it's really about the formatting and how important it is. Dave also has a website. I think it's called, it's on my PDF. It's not Dave Trottier or something like that, but it has to do with the Screenwriter's Bible. And he offers classes. And he's very, very good. In the beginning, I heard him at one of these festivals, took his class, and he's extremely helpful. He's very supportive. He's not just going to spit on your work or something. He's wonderful, and you can also do evaluations, so you can pay him. He'll look at like the first 20 pages and tell you if it works or it doesn't work. You can do a full screenplay evaluation, but he's excellent, and the analysis he sends back is extremely thorough. And it's not just that the scene is wrong, he's telling you how to improve it, where to go to maybe find something that is comparable, and so forth. So he's excellent. I highly recommend. He's very reasonable rate-wise for the industry. Good point. Thank you. Okay.